Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight we're going to create a couple of sweet layouts, and we're focusing on creating the same layout in two different ways. We're going to be using the I Want Candy product bundle, and included in the product bundle is this 12 by 12 sticker sheet that has some Halloween specific stickers, but it also has many stickers that are very versatile and all-purpose. And so we're going to be using this in a dual purpose by creating one layout two different ways. We're going to duplicate it. So in the product bundle also includes two stamp and thin cut sets. And so one is called the I Want Candy Stamp and Thin Cut, which is all the sugary sweets, the candy and the sentiments. And then the other is Irresistible, which of course is the spooky Halloween themed set. Included in the bundle are these great puff stickers. We have some cupcakes, candy, dots, and stars. And then when you take a look at the pattern paper in the collection, we have one pattern paper here that's Halloween specific. It has some bats and pumpkins and little Halloween icons within it. If you look at the coordinating cardstock, we have some ballerina clover, glacier lagoon, lemonade, periwinkle, royal, sundance, sapphire, and white daisy. So you can really go any direction. You see that you can take it in more neutral, you can go more pastel, you can use some of the blues and the green. So it has some dot, some word paper, and it has some stars, and then of course those more hero type papers. And when you look at the candy in the I Want Candy, there's also a tiny bit of candy in the Halloween as well. So what I normally do when I get ready to use a product bundle, I know that I'm going to make many layouts, and I don't always know what direction I'm going to go. So a lot of times I like to make a lot of different icons from the Stamp and Thin Cut set. I store my leftovers, and I also then feel like I have lots of options. So on one side of my Junk Gypsy tray here, I have all of the I Want Candy stamps and thin cuts in a variety of colors, and then on the other side of the tray I have all of the Irresistible stamp and thin cuts. And I've used a variety of colors because, again, I don't know which direction I'm going to go, but I have stamped those in intense black. Now, a couple of these from the I Want Candy set are actually have the ability to be layered. So they have these great candies that have almost an embossing within them, and then they have a little frame that can go around the outer edge. So you can do tone on tone. You can actually use them on a couple different candies, and you can put those together. I love the little Smarties looking candies. You can actually marker those with tri-blends, or you can just do as I did and stamp them on colored cardstock. You would have the option to add some Stickles to them. And also for the chocolate bars, I plan to trim off the top that I stamped in espresso and then layer that on top of the colored part of the candy bar. So let's get into the layout. I have on the left side, I'm going to be working on one layout, and on the right side, I'm going to be working on the other layout. Both layouts are going to be two-page layouts, but it's going to be a two-part series where I do the companion pages on the next video. But on the left layout, I'm going to focus on Halloween. So I have three of my granddaughters, Hattie Elaine, Avery Jean, and Ramsey Kate, and I'm focusing on some of their Halloween photos from several years back. I also have Claire Adeline in the photos and myself in a witch costume, and Claire that year was just not able to keep her Minnie Mouse costume on. So for the left page, which is the left page is what we're working on both of these, I'm going to choose 2 3x4 photos, and the remaining photos are going to go on a grid style companion page. So for the non-Halloween layout, I'm focusing on Hattie Elaine's 3rd birthday, which was a unicorn birthday, and it was filled with candy. Hence, I want candy. I love this photo because my daughter is actually in the photo and she's usually the party planner. I love the little photo of Hattie peeking over the counter at the candy bar, and then Ramsey Kate was just little at that time and she slept through the party. So I actually have 8 photos for the 2-page layouts, 6 that will go on the companion page and 2 that will go on a focal page. So we're going to focus on the Halloween focal page and the non-Halloween focal page using the same collection. So I have a little white daisy that's 11 by 11 that I'm putting on top of gutted frames. I've done gutted frames many times, but they are a 12 by 12 pattern paper cut from 1 inch to 11 inches all the way around so that you can reserve the inner square for other things. Then I created some stitched framing using my Cricut pens on the Cricut on an 11 by 11 white daisy. My plan was to use the Sapphire Cauldron, which is a Cricut cut, and it's just a basic cauldron that I found on the Cricut, but for the non-Halloween, I thought I would trim off the pegs of the cauldron and make it look a little bit more like a candy dish. So Hattie Elaine, for her 3rd birthday, had a candy bar. It was a bar just filled with different candy, and the candy served as both the decoration and, of course, fun for all the littles. But by taking off the pegs of the cauldron and making it look simply more like a candy dish, I may even take a little bit of that curved top off as well. I actually know that I don't, but at this point in the video, I was thinking about it. So basically what we're going to use is a basic background, which I do often. And I have 1 by 6 strips that I'm going to put about 1.5 inches in from the right side of each page, and I'm going to layer the strips. Now I can leave a little bit of a gap between some of the strips when you get toward the bottom, because I'm going to have the photos, the 3x4 photos are going to cover that section, and we don't have to waste paper in the middle. I actually adjust them a little bit later, and I put 2 strips at the bottom. And I believe I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strips. Is that right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strips all together. I can't quite remember if I adjust that and add a strip, but we're going to put those on there. And then we're going to be using the cauldron, and we're going to build upward and build a really fun element with circles going upward. So what we're going to do is place these strips in a hodgepodge fashion, uneven, which is one of my favorite things to do, primarily because I'm not a very straight person. So I love to create the strips in the hodgepodgey way. I love all of the colors and patterns in this, and I love that if you had boy photos or more masculine photos, you could go more toward the blues and the greens, even the yellow. And I love that you can go pastel. So depending on if you're doing, say, the left side for Halloween, depending on the Halloween costumes, you could choose so many different accents in there. Like I said, there's glacier in there, there's lagoon in there, there's clover in there, the periwinkle, the royal, the Sundance. So you have the green families, the blue families, the lavender and purple families. So I'm just actually adding my 3x4 photos for the Halloween page. I'm actually using periwinkle at 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and I'm going to mount those, and they're going to be toggled a little bit so that they cover up that blank gap. Now I've added the strips on the right page in a similar manner, and I've actually I've done a different order. It doesn't really quite matter the order. The only thing different on the right page is I did not add the Halloween specific pattern. So I actually have 2 of the Royal Gingham patterns, and so I feel like that's going to lend itself better. It doesn't really matter what order your strips go in. I just tried to make sure that there weren't like 2 blue families together or 2 pink families together. I kind of went light dark when I toggled. Now on the left page we have this great web, spider web thin cut that I feel like I'll be using in the upper left and the lower right, and then on the companion page for the Halloween, I'll probably use a web on that as well and make a little visual triangle. But I have some circles here that I created on the Cricut, and I believe those are, goodness gracious, 2.5-inch circles. I'm going to have to double check that. I think they're 2.5-inch circles, and then I actually create, I believe, 5 of those, and then I create some 2.25-inch circles, 2 of those, and then I use a 1-inch circle punch and create 4 1-inch circles. So 5 2.5-inch circles, 2 2.25-inch circles, and 4 1-inch circles, and I did the same colors for the left layout, the Halloween, as I did for the right, that is simply the birthday party theme. And I'm going to sort of build on the cauldron side some bubbles going up with the circles. I'm going to put some foam tape on the cauldron, but I'm going to leave most of the foam tape off of the top so it allows me to tuck and build. Now we're going to do some treatments on these circles, and we're going to use different treatments on the Halloween on the left compared to the birthday party on the right, but I'm just kind of getting some placement right now. So you can see how I'm trying to build and get narrower and narrower as we go up toward the top. So I'm using the 2.5-inch circles in the base, and then I'm going to move to the 2-inch circles and then to the 1-inch circles, and I'm just sort of building something that's sort of going upward and getting thinner and thinner, just like a bubbling cauldron that gets a little bit more narrow as it goes to the top, and the circles get smaller and smaller. These are just going to be like foundational pieces, and then we're going to add so many little fun bits, and we're just going to play. The one thing that I love about Halloween themes, I know that not everybody does Halloween anymore, and so Close to My Heart has been amazing at making our Halloween themed paper reversible and versatile. They've done this for all the years that I've been in Close to My Heart, which is 8 years. And I love that you can go either way, but it brings out the inner kid in me. There are certain paper themes or certain lines that bring out the inner child, and you can really go to town and do all of those extra things. So now I'm just basically taking the Halloween side, and I'm using the claw of the scissors to distress the edges. Now I'm showing you here that I actually do have an old tool that is actually a distressing tool, but I actually prefer to use the claw of our Close to My Heart microtip scissors, and it just shreds it just equally as well as a distressing tool. So it's so totally your preference. So off camera, I distressed all of the circles with the claw of the scissors, and now I'm coming in with a little bit of periwinkle ink and a blending brush, and I just want to give it a nice little hue. I'm thinking for Halloween, I want to make a little bit of a periwinkle fog and make it look a little more spooky and a little more roughed up and distressed, just like the bubbles would be in a cauldron. I'm actually using periwinkle on all the colors, and it doesn't bother me a bit. It just dirties those up, gives them that little bit of that purple hue that ties all of the periwinkle bits together and just makes it all kind of melt together and go together, all of the different colors. So I'm actually going to get through each of these pieces. And again, it's not really about the circles. The circles are giving us the background and the foundation to add all of the little irresistible thin cut pieces and all of the little added elements of those thin cuts to fill that cauldron up with some pumpkins and some candy and some trick-or-treat bags and some bats and some ghosts, and to really give that Halloween flavor. And I love how you can create the exact same base layout and just change a few little elements. And the only pattern paper that we had to change in the entire thing for the Halloween layout versus the non-Halloween layout is that very theme specific hero paper that has the little bats in it and the more Halloween specific. So you can see here how this is totally birthday or another versatile theme of something that would have those colors in it. So now I'm just doing, repeating the performance and adding that periwinkle ink to the spider webs. I know that I'm going to use the ballerina spider web in the lower right corner, and I'm going to rough it up a little bit with some of the periwinkle ink and just give it a nice little hue. It kind of is like a purpley gray almost when it's on top of another color. So now that all of those are done, I'd also like to add a little bit of a periwinkle fog in the background with the blending brush. Not a lot of it is going to show, but it's going to help blend those pieces onto the background as we build our bubbling cauldron. So we're just going to rough it up a little bit in the background, blend a little bit of that periwinkle in the background. And again, I didn't get to talk much about the stitching on the white daisy piece from the Cricut, but you can easily do that by hand with your Le Pen. You know, if you want to take a black journaling pen and make some solid lines and some striped lines in the background. I did actually use the midnight blue Cricut pen to make that, and then when I got to the second set of pages for the second layout, the non-Halloween layout, my pen started to give out, but I think black would look great as well. My Cricut pens are quite old, and I don't know if it did that from not being used for a while or if it just finally wore out from being used too much. So now I'm going to work on the circles that are going to go on the right page. Not right page, the other page, the non-Halloween page. I keep forgetting we're working on two completely separate layouts. We're not working on a companion page for the first layout. So I actually am going to add some white diamond stickles, and the ones that I tried to use were all gone. I have used them quite heavily. Now, close to my heart, no longer sell stickles. There are a few, I believe, that are left in inventory, but they are no longer in the up-and-coming catalog cycles. But I do still have all of the stickles that Close to My Heart has sold in the past, and I do still love to use those on layouts. So I'm actually just putting a tiny blob in the middle of each circle and rubbing the stickles on those circles with my finger. It is a little bit messy, but it doesn't bother me, and it wipes off, and then I will be letting those dry. So for the non-Halloween, it's all about the candy, right? Even though Halloween is about the candy as well. But the birthday party was all about the candy, and so I believe that deserves a little bit of sparkle. We're going to make it sparkly. So Hattie Elaine's third birthday was unicorn themed, and so everything was about magic, magical sparkles, and candy. And so I think adding the extra stickles is going to really jazz up those circles for the right. So we're roughing up the left for Halloween, and we're jazzing up the right for the birthday party. Now, instead of the periwinkle ink, I'm going to go with ballerina ink on the non-Halloween layout, on the birthday party layout. And just again, not much of that is going to show. We're not going to have the spider webs on the birthday theme, of course. So I'll be filling in with a little extra circles and a little extra bubbles. There's actually some circles that are going to be left over in the candy. Once you make the thin cut, some little leftover irregular shaped circles are left over. And so we'll probably be filling in that upper corner with that. So now I've added that spider web, a little bit of liquid adhesive, and I've added that spider web to the corner, and now it's time to build. At first I wasn't going to anchor that cauldron down, but I decided it was a good idea to anchor that down so that I can tuck and build, and so that it doesn't keep moving around. And I've left plenty of space without foam tape to be able to tuck that in. And I do want it to hang over just a little. I want it to stay on the white base, the stitched, drawn on stitched base, but I do kind of want the cauldron to stay on the white within the range of those stitched pen marks, and then cross over to the pattern paper a little bit. And I'm going to use these circles, like I said, as the foundation for lots of little Halloween bits, but I'm also going to use it as the transition between the pattern paper strips and the decorative elements, so that it just goes smoothly. So it sort of covers up those blunt edges, and it acts as a great transition between strips. And then the photos will rest down below, and everything will just seem sort of seamless and smooth as I'm building upward. It's going to be very high bubbles. So we're going to put that all the way up, and then we're building from large to small. So the 2.5-inch circles as the foundation in the cauldron, and then the 2.25-inch circles, and then the 1-inch circles all the way up to sort of build this great little bubbling cauldron that will go up. And it's going to look kind of funky for a while. There's one circle that's left over, and when we make the companion pages for each of these layouts in the part 2 of this series, we're going to actually use that circle on somewhat of a traditional grid on the companion page. So now I'm adding the photos, and I'm wanting to tuck the one. This is actually Hattie Elaine again in the blue. I think I want to say it's a dragon. I know the tail lights up because there's a picture of her walking in the dark with her dad, and the tail lights up. So I think it's a dragon, and then the top of the head and the tail lights up. And then on the right photo, we have Avery Jean is like a Supergirl, and then Ramsey Kate is a unicorn, and Hattie Elaine is the dragon. And I'm using sweet on both layouts because I think it's super appropriate. Even though the left page is Halloween, the sweet is appropriate. Now, I'm not quite sure which direction I'll be going. I actually had, I think, a sapphire strip down below, and I moved the dot strip lower because I thought, I didn't know if any of it was going to show, but if it did show, I wanted it to be the cute dot. So now I've repeated the process over on the right, and I've placed the photos exactly the same. So the right photos are popped up with foam tape, and the left photos are tucked underneath either the cauldron or the candy dish. So now we have some more stamps on the stamp set that we could use. We have the stickers on the sticker sheets we could use, and we also have all of those thin cuts that we can use. So let's start with Halloween, and I'm going to grab some of the little treat bags, some of the pumpkins, some of the lollipops, and some of the bats and the ghosts, and we're just going to begin the fun part. Now, I've sped this part up quite a bit, but it still does take a bit. This is my favorite part, but it's also the part that takes a little bit of working and playing and rearranging, and I just kind of like to take my time rearranging, and then often I will put some things in place, and then I will go work on something else and come back and let it sort of soak soak up a little bit to see what I might need. So I'm tucking some little ghosts in. I'm putting the bat up in the web. I'm adding some little bitty tiny ghosts that I've created on color. I've created some white ones. I'm going to tuck some gift bags, treat bags, candy sacks, whatever you call them, whatever you trick or treat with, behind those pumpkins. And I'll probably be popping up a couple of those. And sometimes what I will do when I'm tucking bits into something that I want to look layered, part of it, like the bottom part of it, will be tucked down with adhesive, and the top part of it will have a thin piece of foam tape under it so that it almost looks dimensional as it's coming out. It's still tucking flush on the bottom, but then it's actually being popped up on a portion. So now I'm going to flip my Junk Gypsy tray over to the non-Halloween side, which is all about the candy. And I'm going to begin playing with this side. So this is going to be more like a candy dish that we're going to fill. And I'm just kind of laying out the colors that I think that I would like. I've got way plenty, but this is only the first layout in a full series. So each series will have about 10 pages for sure, like 5 2-page layouts. And so because this is only layout 1, I want to have lots and lots of bits to draw from. I prefer to make those ahead of time, and if I have extra, use them on cards or tuck them right into the envelope of that Stampin' Thin Cut set to use at a future time. I like doing that better than stopping and starting. Some people love to make their bits as they need them. I love to just have them all so I can draw from them and play with them. So this is going to take a little bit here, but I'm going to cut off, whoops, I stopped myself. I actually am going to cut off the chocolate from the candy bars that are stamped in the espresso and put those on top of a few of the colors. Now you can see those layered pieces where I've layered those delicate frames on top of the stitched candies. That's so cute. They really did an amazing job designing that Stampin' Thin Cut. They have so many ways that you can layer the candies and the bits. Now I discover that the leftover circles from those candy wrappers are yet a smaller size of a circle. And because we don't get to use the spider web on the non-Halloween side, I'm going to actually add those leftover bits that are left over from the thin cuts. Now you can see the chocolate bars, how those turned out by paper piecing the chocolate on the top of the colored bottoms. And I've just done the layering, and I've done that little trick that I've told you before where I will adhere something directly down on the bottom and pop a tiny piece of foam tape on the top, so it's sort of jutting out of the candy jar or jutting out of the candy bowl. And I've anchored the lower left where we no longer have the peg on the non-Halloween with the chocolate bars, and I'm actually adding some Stickles in on some of the little candies. Now you could have colored some of the bits of the candies with tri-blend marker, but I'm just preferring to add the Stickles since we were using the Stickles anyway, and I think we have plenty of busyness going on here. I don't think we need to draw in the markers. I think just adding in a little bit of those diamond Stickles into the centers of the circles of the candy will add just enough. It is busy and it is colorful, but I love how it's a concentrated theme, and those colors really allow you to draw out the colors in your photos and go any direction of your photos. You know how it is when Halloween costumes don't quite match, like one child will have a completely different colored costume from another child in the family. And that's one of the reasons that the companion pages to this are going to be grid style. I like to separate out like birthday party photos and Halloween photos with grids, because there's so many different colors and color schemes and outfits and costumes in those types of themes or parties. And so having them in a grid separates them from each other a little bit, and you can separate out your bits to accent your photos within the grid. So that will be something that we'll address in part 2 of this video. But right now I'm just taking some little stickers and I'm trying to add a little bit of those fun little candy elements to the candy. And then I've also added the So Cute sticker on to Hattie Elaine's birthday cupcake. That's her birthday cupcake there next to the candy bar. I tried to get the other sticker to work in within the candy, and I ended up putting that up at the top left of the birthday party page. On the Halloween page, I wanted to do the same thing and add a sticker to the top, and I think this is the perfect spot for Irresistible. It's one of the purple stickers, and it just works perfectly up above. And with Avery Jean's costume having the red in it, I don't notice it. I think that there's enough colors that it isn't so distracting, because the other two girls have costumes that sort of go with each other or blend with each other. And then there is a little bit of blue in the Supergirl skirt there. I do try to get one more sticker to work like I did on the birthday party onto the Halloween, and I just don't get it to jive. And I think with the spider web up there, we really don't need that extra sticker. I think I'm totally happy. I do want to add some of the puff stickers simply because they're so cute, and because we have so many round elements with all the circles, I'd like to go with the star puff stickers. I think that's going to be our best bet here, is just adding a couple of those stars, and we'll reserve the puff circles for another layout that don't quite have so many circles in them. I'm getting happy. I always say I'm getting happy. So it was a little bit of work to get some of that candy layering and that circle layering, but not bad at all. And I love seeing the two layouts side by side, where we have Halloween for one and birthday party for another, to help give everyone the concept of how easily you can fit this theme for just about anything that you want to do with it. Simply matching up colors and highlighting the specific colors in your photos. If you have Halloween, more masculine boy Halloween themes, or even a boy birthday party, you can totally draw out on the sapphires, the greens, the lagoons, the yellows, even the orange, or any of the colors that are in your photos. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you've had fun. If you've enjoyed tonight's video, I sure hope you'll hit subscribe, like, and the notifications bell so you'll be notified of the future videos, especially part 2 that's coming up, that's going to make companion pages for both of these layouts. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. And again, thanks for hitting subscribe. It sure goes a long way on YouTube. So whether you went for sweet or whether you went for scary, I hope you enjoyed tonight's video and you love the layouts this evening. Have a great time scrapping your sweet memories. Happy scrapping, everyone. Bye-bye.